Our story begins with a woman on a hill remembering arguing with her husband who was calling her a superiority complex riddled demeanor while she slapped him and called him out on him cheating on her, as then she took off her ring. But first, let's see how this started. That man is Shen Zhuo, the CEO of Guan Group Company, who was at a party to celebrate the 7th anniversary of their marriage. As he first met with Mr. Taida, the director of said company who was retiring but trusted to leave the company in the hands of Guan Xi, the chairman of the company and Shen's wife, who's earned the company a successful contract thanks to a machine she's designed to produce clothes. And Guan Xi is currently getting ready, helped by her best friend, Su Jing, an accountant of her company, who saw that Shen gifted her a beautiful white skirt, which made her envy how good their relationship was, and longed for a husband too. Afterwards, Guan Xi presents herself to the event, where Shen proceeds to give a speech about having met her first as a clerk, calling it love at first sight. While one of the guests watched him, Guan Pilin, Guan Xi's sleazy and immature half-brother, who also held power in the company thanks to his mother, was left in shares. After the speech, they were approached by Ding Mengren, a photographer and interviewer for a magazine, who was completely ignoring Shen to talk to Guan Xi. After that, they meet with 2 other of the company's board members, but who wanted to talk with Guan Xi alone, and all this indifference towards him left him distressed. And after seeing Su Jing look at him and leave, he also left, angered, which Ding and Guan Xi noticed. But Shen had actually gone meet with Su Jing, who'd come with blue pills in a capsule, because they're both having an affair, and with those pills, they plan on killing Guan Xi by making her take the wrong medicine while drunk and give her organ failure so Shen wouldn't live at her feet anymore and to take over the company, and finally be with Su Jing, who he then has sex with right there in the backseat of his car. But they were seen by Guan Xi herself, and though Shen desperately tried to explain, she knew what she saw and tried leaving. Though at that very moment, Ding was taking air by some stairs nearby and seemed to hear the commotion, as Guan Xi ended up next to a cliff and Shen was begging to her, but she slapped him and said that without her, he's nothing. But this made Shen angrily call her out on how she lived a granted life, feeling superior. But as he stopped her from slapping him again, she claimed that her superiority consisted in her husband, who she thought was perfect, but who's now slept with her best friend. Though Shen tries saying that Su Jing made him feel like a man, unlike her, who shows no dignity for him as her husband, Guan Xi wasn't having his excuses and decided she'd make him lose his reputation. But that's when Shen, in his attempt to stop her, shoved her off the cliff, as Su Jing then approached him as he was left speechless, and her smiling. We see Shen 7 years ago proposing to Guan Xi, saying that he'd be faithful to her all his life, something he in the present reminisces, but he also thinks back on when he tried to help the company with a proposal of his, but which Guan Xi decided to postpone to decide later, as she clearly disliked his idea, leaving him internally indignant, and then thinks back on how when he returned home one day, dead tired, Guan Xi insisted and made him hang his coat, change his shoes, and take a bath, while he just wanted to rest, feeling like he was treated without respect, so he just faked smiling at all this. As in the present, he angrily puts down a photo of her, and then laughs and dances, celebrating his freedom. And he's then visited by Su Jing, who's afraid after what happened, but he pulls her in and makes love to her on the table. And after this, Su Jing wears the skirt he bought Guan Xi for their anniversary. But she then mentions how Guan Xi's body hasn't been found yet, and fears she might still be alive, but Shen assures her she's dead, saying to stop thinking about her and instead be together, which is all Su Jing really wants as they make love again on the bed he once shared with Guan Xi. In the next morning though, Su Jing makes breakfast for him, which reminds him of when Guan Xi made him breakfast, but he just then pulls an Su Jing next to him, who says doesn't want to hide anymore, but he says he'll make her be seen by making her assistant to the new chairman, as later he stands before the board of directors, with her next to him, as he goes on about how he believes Guan Xi is still alive and will do his best to find her, but that, as the company needs a leader and him being the closest to Guan Xi, and despite his co-workers' clear worried looks, he'll become the new chairman until Guan Xi returns. But while this happens, the reporter Ding is thinking back on the night Guan Xi died, having heard their conjugal argument, and so she later ends up visiting Shen himself as she insists on knowing what exactly happened that night, insinuating that her accident might have been something else, but Shen wasn't budging. And after receiving a package from a mailman, he just returned inside to her disappointment. But Shen saw in the package a note. That read, "I know what you did that night," and something that left him awestruck, a photo of him pushing Guan Xi off the cliff, After showing all this to Xu Jing, they speculate who could have taken the picture, but Shen suddenly receives a call from a person with a robotic voice, the one who sent the package, who demands 30 million yuan in exchange for the photos, knowing he has the Guan Group company's public fund on him, which he's been using to trade in the stock market, and so he will message him tomorrow. Shen's dumbfounded because only two people know of this, him and Xu Jing. She tries defending herself, claiming they're in the same situation, with her being an accountant, so Shen drops that topic but says they need to find who this person is. And so he then reviews the security footage of that night and sees some potential suspects, Pilin and Ding, but also adds in Xu Jing. The next day, Shen runs into Ding alongside Xu Jing and his company, who'd scheduled to interview Guan Xi today beforehand, and tries interviewing Shen instead, but he just leads with Xu Jing, as he implies to her that Ding's suspecting on them regarding Guan Xi's death, and that she could also be who's blackmailing them. At night, Shen goes drinking, frustrated, to the bar his brother-in-law, Pilin, frequents, who's right now hiding in a hotel room because he owes the wrong people money and he's running out of time. Afterwards, Shen's back home, speculating who could the blackmailer be. But that's when he gets called by that person, telling him to stop that because he'll never know, and that he's also left him a gift at his door, a ring box, with the pills he was planning on using to kill Guan Xi. Shen now has to go to the blackmailer's spot, and without choice, he goes there with Xu Jing. But Ding's also on the phone at that moment, and in that same parking lot. As she then follows Shen's car, he then arrives at the spot, but the blackmailer calls again and tells him to head to another spot, alone, as Shen has Xu Jing wait for him there. And afterwards, he arrives at the spot where he's told to put the prize on top of a trash can, a card and a wallet that has the 30 million yen, and then instructs him to drive away. So he resignedly shoves it on top of a trash can and leaves, and then he's told the location of the photos, under the seat, as he stops the car out of shock and indeed finds a memory drive underneath it. But he then sees someone going towards the trash can, Ding, who picks up the wallet as Shen rushes towards her and tries calling Xu Jing, but her reception is poor. As Shen then busts Ding as the one who blackmailed him, but she claims not to know what he's talking about, as Xu Jing suddenly gets knocked out by a man who tells Shen through her phone, "Thank you for your cooperation." And he can just think back on how he gave Xu Jing the card with the money before leaving to the final spot. Frustrated because it means he's lost the money, but as he tries thinking on who the culprit is, he remembers the mailman who delivered him the package with the pictures, as he remembers having seen someone very similar to him driving parallel to him when he was going to the delivery spot. As we see that person has a scar in his hand, and the mailman does so as well. Shen's now with Xu Jing, who's ended up getting the card stolen. Though she says at least it has a password, Shen suddenly receives a notification that all the money in it was transferred, to his disbelief. And without the company's money, and with an auditor arriving next week, they could go to jail. Xu Jing's desperate, but Shen assures her they'll find the blackmailer before the auditor arrives. But he's clearly desperate too. Meanwhile, Ding speculates on what happened the night Guan Xi died, while one of her assistants tells her that it's strange how Shen doesn't appear bothered by his wife being gone. But Ding responds with that things aren't that simple between husband and wife. As we then see Shen at work, who's putting a project Guan Xi was incredibly looking forwards to working on, for an important client on hold, despite the concerns of his now underlings. And then, he has the nerve of holding a prayer meeting for Guan Xi, one that Ding invites herself to, since she used to always admire Guan Xi, so Shen allows her to stay. As he then goes about being at a loss due to her death, feeling in denial, and all that waffle, as well as how he'll run the company for her, doing this while thinking back on how he celebrated her death, and then prays for her with everyone but Ding, who sees him with a suspecting face, while Xu Jing smiles in front of him. But that's when she receives a concerning call. That leaves Shen appalled, as she later accompanies him to outside a room, which he enters alone, a room in a hospital, where he finds none other than Guan Xi alive. Guan Xi is alive, and Shen fakes acting relieved, while she reveals that she can only remember falling from somewhere and that the doctor said she hit her head, meaning she doesn't remember their anniversary party, nor what happened during it, and even feels pain when trying to remember. And she then sees Xu Jing, who she receives in open arms, being her best friend after all. After this, the doctor explains to Shen that Guan Xi's suffering of amnesia, either because the hit to her head or because of severe trauma or excessive mental pressure, but that most patients usually recover their memories gradually. Shen later talks to Xu Jing alone, where he speculates that she might be faking the amnesia, but that even if she isn't, she'll most likely recover her memory and now must get the money back ASAP, sending Su Jing to get a surveillance video of the street she was at when she got knocked out by the blackmailer while he stays watching over Guan Xi. He later takes Guan Xi back home with a seemingly odd expression on her face, and she then finds the skirt he gifted her, which she can't remember, on top of the couch. But she just points out how the place is messy, while Shen nervously folds the skirt away, which had been left there after he had sex there with Su Jing. Afterwards, Palin visits them, who came to see his living sister. But as Shen suspects of him being the blackmailer, he remarks how he must have made a lot of money in the meanwhile. But Palin laughs, saying that if he had, he wouldn't come here. And so he goes to Guan Xi's room. But he then sends Shen to cook for her and closes the door, leaving him alone with Guan Xi, where he shows her a photo on her phone, a photo of something that happened that she can't remember, and he's offering to sell it to her, alongside many other photos for then million yuan. But as Shen tries eavesdropping, he gets called by Su Jing, who's now gotten the surveillance video. As he then goes to her place and examines it, and in it, he sees the man who knocked her out. Shen now has footage of his blackmailer, but he still doesn't know who he is. But he suddenly gets called by Guan Xi to Su Jing's frustration as he has to leave see her. The next morning, Guan Xi finds that Shen's made a feast for her, but she looks off at first until he convinces her to eat together. But that's when he receives a text from Su Jing, having found out the blackmailer's identity, Yang Ji, alongside his address. So he tries excusing himself out, though Guan Xi appears hesitant to let him go, until she suddenly accepts because she's getting called by Yang Ji himself. And so Shen ends up going to Yang Ji's place but finds no one there, while Guan Xi went to the docks, where she meets with Yang Ji himself, who warns her that Shen's up to a lot of things, but she claims to not want his help. But Yang Ji then gives her a card that holds a brand new account with all of the money Shen took from the company in it, but they're being photographed at that very moment. Guan Xi though worries, knowing he got this illegally, and says that if he keeps this up, everything he does will be futile. But Yang Ji tells her that if she's unhappy, everything he does will be futile. As he then leaves, while Guan X is left looking troubled, she then drives back home and thinks back on one time she made breakfast for Shen, seeing him smile. But he acted out of a routine, rejecting a pace he loved as he wanted to try something new, which she looked surprised at. But later, she was seeing photos posted by Su Jing online, and in one of them, in a reflection, she noticed Shen's face, which left her speechless. And as her birthday then soon came, she sent Su Jing a gift, which she kept next to her bed while she and Shen were making love. But what Su Jing didn't know was that Yang Ji had planted a recorder in that gift, and he sent the entire recording to Guan Xi, as she heard her husband and best friend cheating on her. But she also heard Su Jing coming up with killing her with the pills, which Guan Xi was more furious at. But then, the night of their 7th anniversary happened, but Yang Ji was there as he took those photos by the cliff and saved Guan Xi himself, having taken her to a hotel afterwards where she remained hidden, until she saw Shen take over her company, as she decided it was time to come back. And she's now heading there for that, alongside Palin. But who we see that the photographs he tried to sell to her were taken the day of the anniversary party of her with Yang Ji. Su Jing arrives at work, but she's told she's been demoted from being the chairman's assistant because Guan Xi's arranged it so, who's now back at the helm. So she goes visit her and fakes amicability. But while Guan Xi tells her that good friends never hold secrets from each other, she shows her a picture of her kissing Shen, but reveals that she knew of this beforehand because her amnesia was fake. But she tells Su Jing that she knows Shen better than anyone and knows this affair is just a novelty, claiming he'll come back to her, as she calls her Shen's pet, but also calls her out for having tried to entice him to poison her, calling her a bad dog as she gives her pity severance pay and fires her, who then just leaves frustrated. Later at night, Shen arrives home to find Guan Xi on the table, drinking wine, of celebration because she brought him a gift, divorce papers, where he'll surrender his share of the house, to his utter shock, revealing she knows of his affair with Su Jing and of their conspiracy to kill her. Though Shen appears to laugh at all this, he's reminded the auditor will come soon, and he doesn't have the money. So he then sits down frustrated as he notices she's receiving a call from Palin, while Guan Xi says she was giving him opportunities this entire time to go back to how they were. But Shen tries to say that she's as cruel as him, finding him a worthless nobody, but she instead says he's won because of him being incredibly selfish. But as he says he'll try getting what he wants in life, he decides he'll stay at a hotel for now until she's cooled off. But he's later frustrated in his car at all this. But he then remembers Palin calling her, so he decides to call him, but he isn't answering. because he's currently being tortured by his debt collectors. But that's when Shen himself arrives and says he'll pay his debt himself, to Palin's surprise. After having saved him from the collectors, Palin drinks with Shen, but the reason he went to him is because Palin holds shares of the Guan Group company and wants to buy his help for a plan he has, which, after bargaining due to Palin loving his biological sister, he accepts after Shen offers him 15 million yuan, which he loves more. The day after, Guan Xi has an interview by Ding, but at that moment, Shen, Xu Jing, and Pailin go to Yang Ji's place, where they barge in but find no one there to their frustration, and as they leave, wondering how he's never home, Palin says that Shen might be tapped, making him remember how Yang Ji's memory disk was underneath his seat back then, meaning Yang Ji has access to his car. And so they look everywhere in the car for something, and that's when Su Jing finds a recorder underneath the rear floor mat. And so afterwards, while Yang Ji's eating somewhere, he suddenly hears them talk about kidnapping Guan Xi at 10 a.m. in the company's garage. So Yang Ji immediately heads there and tries calling Guan Xi, but she's not answering because of her interview, so he texts her to not leave the company because Shen wants to kidnap her. And as he then arrives, Shen and others notice he's there and see he's walking trying to find them. So Shen himself goes and knocks him out from behind the golf club. And then they take him ransom to a room where Shen recriminates him for blackmailing him, attacking Su Jing and stealing his money. But Yang Ji just smiles and won't say where the money is, while Palin and Shen hit him simultaneously, but he isn't budging. But at that moment, as Guan Xi's interview ends, she finally sees Yang Ji's text, and Shen then shows him that she's calling him, which erases his smile, as Shen asks him that if he were to tell Guan Xi his current predicament, if she'd come save him, but Yang Ji knows she wouldn't, so he decides he'll come clean. But while this happens, Guan Xi decides to talk to Ding alone, because she wants her help with something. We see that years ago, a young Guan Xi approached someone who was on the verge of jumping off a roof, Yang Ji, her classmate, who was tired of struggling and claiming no one would care if he died, but she told him that if he doesn't care about himself, he'll never see that someone cares about him, as she extended her hand to him, saying to give the world a chance to prove it and to trust her, which ended up saving his life. And sometime later, during a group meeting, he gifted her a necklace, as they then had a group photo where in it, Yang Ji was staring at her. And this photo is something he's been threatened with in the present by Shen, who, after Yang Ji came clean, can't believe that Guan Xi isn't involved in this. As Yang Ji explains that he came with all this himself and did it on his own, having stolen Guan Xi's spare key to Shen's car, which allowed him to plant the memory card, and the bug, which is how he found out he was playing with the company's money, and also heard the card's password, Su Jing's birthday, and also was who photographed them kissing in the car, and then at the party, and also saved Guan Xi. But when the day for Shen to deliver the money came, he heard Shen telling Su Jing to keep the card until he came back, attempting to trick the blackmailer. But thanks to the bug, he went and took it from Su Jing himself. But even now, Yang Ji still won't reveal where the money is, while Shen suddenly receives a call from Ding. So he later meets with her, who explains that she actually hates Guan Xi's air of superiority and wants his help to get a big scoop on her, which draws a smile on Shen's face. And later, he makes dinner in an elaborate way, because he's back home and it's for Guan Xi, who arrives questioning what he's doing here, but he says this is still his home until they're divorced. Though Guan Xi notices that this meal is something he usually prepares on their anniversary, as he claims today is one, and shows her the photo of Yang Ji had of him with her, and showing her that they got Yang Ji to confess everything. Guan Xi appears nervous as Shen says that everyone, including them, has done stupid things, and therefore they'd be forgiven at least once, implying that they need each other to survive. So, after being nervous, Guan Xi just smiles and says they can start a new life, as she then toasts to this. It's now been some days since Shen has resumed living with Guan Xi and even does amicable acts like having her toothbrush ready, but she's ignoring that and him. But he regardless still tries acting like a model husband, making breakfast for her and treating her nicely, telling her it's time to forget and forgive. But Guan Xi can't forget all that he did, but he promises he'll change as he leaves to work, while Guan Xi thinks to herself that she wants to forget and forgive, but doesn't know if Shen is telling the truth. She then gets a call from Yang Ji, informing that word is that the company's audit has been successfully completed with all the money having been present. But he knows that she's living with Shen again and fears for her, offering her his unconditional help with anything. But she asks him to stop getting involved in this and assures him she'll be fine on her own, which leads to him to say that she must protect herself from now on, and hangs up. While she then looks at the collar he gifted her years ago. But at work, something bad's happening, Guan Xi is being accused that the machine she designed to produce clothes is actually plagiarism of a college student's design for his graduation work, and this is all now trending online. And the factory it was using that model had to stop production altogether, as well as they received letters from lawyers. Though, as Shen claims he'll take responsibility of this, since this happened during his tenure, literally everyone in the building suddenly gets sent a photo of Guan Xi walking down a hotel hallway with Yang Ji. Everyone murmurs and speculates as she walks and sees the commotion, and so she chooses to leave, while Xojing goes to Shen, telling him to return to her after seeing that Guanx is having an affair. But he refuses, claiming they're a couple again and telling her to never show up again. But Xujing slaps him, claiming she won't give up easily as she leaves. But Dane was there, recording this from a hidden spot, while Guan Xi tells someone to find the student who submitted this design, but she can't stop thinking about the mess from earlier, being made seem like a whore, and she loses control while driving while a truck's in the other lane. We see that Guan Xi had gotten a report from a doctor that she was suffering of sudden hypoglycemia, that she's got a threat because it could lead to a coma or death. She regardless later arrives home to Shen, who says he's gotten everyone's opinions on her under control, as well as the plagiarism situation after she left, and has now made spaghetti for her. But she can't help but think he's done something to her food and has him exchange portions with her, which he happily accepts and eats it in front of her. And the next day, he's congratulated in the company because thanks to him, their business partners feel more at ease, and the negative comments online have stopped, calling him very capable, which he quite likes. Afterwards at night, Guan Xi looks at Ding's footage of Shen arguing with Su Jing, hearing him claim that he loves Guan Xi, and is left pensive as she sees him sleep on the couch. And the next morning, he tries leaving a glass of milk for her as a nice gesture, but he sees that she ignores it, but he regardless leaves her toothbrush ready for her. Though he then sees her examining a jar of fruit juice as if he poisoned it, but he goes and drinks it in front of her to stop her doubts, then saying he'll go for a run, while she's left pondering and then goes brush her teeth. But she then suddenly stops and looks at her toothbrush, pondering, while the run Shen went to was actually to pick up Su Jing, because their argument at the company was just acting and they're still together. But as Xujing wants reassurances, wanting to know what she to him, he claims she's his goal, but that he still has business with Guan Xi, so he can become the chairman, and after that, he'll marry Xujing. The next day, with Shen back home, Guan Xi finds him in the bathroom with her toothbrush ready again, but she ignores it, which gives him an unpleasant surprise, but still fakes a smile. And after he's left, she puts the toothbrush with the toothpaste in a sample bag. And then she's left home, but to meet with Xujing face to face, where she claims to know she wants Shen for herself, and that she's who leaked to everyone the photo of her with Yang Ji, so Xiao could separate from her without prejudice. But Guan Xi reveals that she's who wants to divorce him, but he won't accept unless he gets her company, claiming he just cares about himself, with Xujing denies, claiming he loves her. But Guan Xi assures her she'll see his true face soon enough, and revealing that she knows Shen staged this plagiarism ordeal to hurt her reputation and get closer to his goal, so she's proposing her a deal. Guan Xi's had Shen's toothpaste examined, and it was revealed that it has a drug ingredient used to treat diabetes, which is the source of her sudden hypoglycemia. And so she informs of this to someone who she also asked to do one more thing for her. Meanwhile, Shen's with Su Jing, who's told him that Guan Xi tried turning her against him. Though, she appears bothered because she wants to marry Shen already past all this charade. The next day, he meets with Ding at a cafe to prepare her scoop against Guan Xi, where Shen figures she could show everyone solid evidence that Guan Xi indeed plagiarized the machine. And for that, Ding comes up with the idea of finding an actor who'll play the college student. And so she later meets with Guan Xi at that same spot, where she reveals she's found the college student she instructed her to find and will come here to meet her soon. As Ding then leaves, but leaving a recording device on her seat. As later, that student arrives and after a while, reaches a deal with Guan Xi, as he then leaves, but taking the recorder with him. And later, Shen and Xujing watch footage from a USB of this meeting, recorded with a hidden camera alongside audio taken from the recorder. But that's been edited by Dane, making it seem like she's paying the student tons of money to clear up the infringement, which is shown to the public will fully incriminate her. While the college student then calls Shen himself, talking about how Shen gave him that design, that was actually Guan Xi's work, and this will both hurt her career as a plagiarist and make the student famous. Later back home, Shen talks to Guan Xi about the upcoming press conference they'll hold tomorrow, assuring her that the rumors about her having an affair will be cleared up, though he then tries to prepare her toothbrush again, but she just snatches it away to use her own toothpaste. leaving him feeling uneasy. The next day, the conference is now taking place, and after Shen finishes his speech, he's then asked about his marriage, but he assures that he'll always be with Guanxi, no matter what, as he then holds her hand in front of everyone, which Su Jing looks displeased at, and with the USB in hand, she goes to the projector room and plugs it in, and it begins projecting its content in front of everyone. But it's not the footage Shen saw yesterday, but instead, it's him being shown to be behind the plagiarism act to put the blame on Guanxi. But as he desperately tries claiming it's a forgery, the college student reveals himself to be there, who we see told Guanxi that he was an intern working for her company back then, and she revealed he was now being used as he agreed to help her go against Shen in exchange of working for her company. And now he's testifying against him in front of everyone, to Shen's utter shock, who leaves, while Guanxi gives a smug smile. Su Jing tries drinking a Coke at home, but she suddenly gets nauseous. Meanwhile, Guanxi is informed that though the plagiarism issue was clarified, their business partner had already disposed of their inventory, meaning they can't continue work right now, meaning lost money. She later returns home and finds Shen drinking wine and inviting her to play chess, as he asks about how she'll cope with her deliveries not being done in time, saying he can talk to the board of directors about this for her to help, but she instead claims to know he wants to replace her as chairman, figuring he married her to achieve this. Though he claims she married him to have a loyal dog, she doesn't care what he thinks anymore, figuring his feelings were fake and wants the divorce and him to give up everything he has in her company. But he won't easily hand that up, while Guanxi reminds him that the company will always belong to the Guans, but he claims he'll fight to the end to have it, as he checkmates her, claiming she's just like this game right now, a hopeless case. But Guanxi assures him that if he doesn't quit right now, he'll see how ruthless she can actually be. But as she's leaving, Shen tells her he'll sleep at Su Jing's place tonight, which he notices affects her. And he's later indeed with Su Jing, who's saddened the plan failed, but she's assured he'll take over the company no matter what. But what she only cares about is being with him and marrying him, which he assures her will happen. The next day at work, Guanxi is informed that they found a new fabric factory they can use to restart production, but they'll need to pay breach of contract fees to their providers, and the company doesn't have that much money right now, so they can't really pay for it. But she later meets with Su Jing again, but as she demands to know why she's not divorcing him, knowing he's having an affair with her, Guanxi claims she's not doing so because it'd make her a mistress her entire life, which will bring shame to her family, her children, and Shen, which makes Su Jing angrily leave, but not before throwing water on her face. As Ding's leaving the Guan Company building, she gets confronted by Shen, demanding an explanation for how he was humiliated, but she assures him not to know, reminding him that she gave him a USB with the proper content. Past that, he asks if anything unusual happened with Guanxi recently, and she reveals that she and Su Jing met up once, today, which takes him by surprise as he leaves, while Ding's left with satisfied smile, but then ponders on 3 months ago, showing us that she was actually a friend of Guanxi already, but back then, she showed her the photo of Shen kissing Su Jing in the car. And so, Guanxi asked Ding to help her put on a play, as she then came to the anniversary party acting like an outsider and ignoring Shen to taunt his fragile ego. And after the accident at the cliff, she revealed to Ding that she was alive, instructed Ding to go make him nervous. And the day of the press conference, Ding was present, as she then went and replaced the USB Su Jing had put in the projector with other one that had the footage incriminating Shen. And she's still helping her friend out, as she calls Guanxi and says that Shen just became suspicious of Su Jing. And later, he arrived at Su Jing's place, appearing exhausted and annoyed, which he tried excusing that it was because of company work, but this annoyed her since all he talks about is becoming the chairman and wants to know if they will even actually marry. But Shen at this desperately tells her that he can't give up, not this far in. But as he claims he did this all for her, Su Jing says he did this all for himself and that she's helped him plenty in these times. But as she asks how long will she have to wait to get married, he again replies with when he becomes the chairman. But as he's leaving, she points out that Shen Zuo, chairman of the Guan Group company, sounds strange, which clearly annoys him as then leaves. Meanwhile, Guanx is walking on the beach with Ding, talking about how Guanx has gotten stronger now. But while she claims she can't trust the prince she expected from when she was a kid, Ding assures her that it's people who are wrong, not love. Meanwhile, Su Jing's mindlessly staring at an echography result, while Shen's drowning his sorrows in alcohol. And later, Su Jing meets with Guanxi again, trying to talk again like old times, but Guanxi feels nothing for her now, as Su Jing feels regrets that this turned out like this, and regrets having fallen in love with Shen. But she still wants his love, claiming there's no going back for her. so she'll help in making him leave the company, and in return, Guan Xi will divorce him, revealing she's doing this because she's pregnant with Shen's child. As Shen drinks in a bar, Xiaojing finds him after he's been ignoring her calls because he's tired of the marriage talk. But she actually apologizes for last night, but he also does too, claiming to be in a bad mood because of Guan Xi. But that's when Xiaojing proposes him to kill her, so they can finally be together, and he gets the company at last without Guan Xi being a threat anymore. As she then leaves, and he's left surprised but pondering. Though at that moment, Guan X is in her kitchen planting a small camera on a vent. Later in the day though, Xiaojing's with Shen, talking about how they can make Guan Xi's death seem like an accident, and Shen gets an idea after seeing her turns on the gas, planning to leaving it open after Guan Xi sleeps as he'll fake being poisoned while Guan Xi dies. Though while he's not looking, Xiaojing appears nervous at this, and even accidentally burns her fingers as she then goes inside. Meanwhile, Guan X is with Ding again, who's told her about the plan she's made with Xiaojing to incite Shen to try to poison her with gas from the kitchen. Ding worries though about this, but Guan Xi claims it'll be worse if she keeps living with him, and also so he can finally be completely gone from her life. Afterwards though, Peelin's at her home, demanding to be given right to sell his shares from the company, since he needs Guan Xi's signatures for it, because he needs money, but she refuses since it's something his mother left him to guarantee his basic life, and because she knows he'll spend the entire money in a blink, but Peelin leaves annoyed at her, though Shen's also there, who ends up sleeping on the couch. And then, in the middle of the night, he goes and turns on the gas, which is filmed by Guan Xi's camera on the vent as he leaves the house while locking the door, and in the morning she won't open her eyes in her bed. Guan X is on her bed and awakes, but appears surprised, as she then goes and sees the footage from her vent camera, seeing that Shen indeed opened the gas last night, only to close it immediately after, and wonders why he didn't go through with it. Meanwhile, Shen visits Xiaojing but appears angry, because he reveals that he feels she planned this with Guan Xi to pin the murder on him, revealing that he felt her nervousness the other day, on top of seeing she received a message from Guan Xi herself. And so he warns her to not contact him again until he's done with his plan, otherwise not to blame him for being cruel. But as he's leaving, she suddenly tries stopping him with a hug from behind. But she shoves her away, making her fall against the floor as he then just leaves, but she's left in pain and faints while calling out to him. And later, she's ended up in the hospital, with Guan Xi next to her, as Xiaojing wakes up and she's explained that she found strange that Shen didn't take action last night, so she went visit her, but found her on the floor with a pool of blood coming from inside her, and so she rushed her to the hospital. As a doctor then reveals that this incident made her miscarry, and that now it'll be highly unlikely that she'll get pregnant again, Xiaojing cries of despair. And then she figures that she's nothing but a mistress to Shen, while he was her everything. As Guan Xi claimed he only loves himself, while Xiaojing tells her that the reason Shen hates her is because she could never satisfy his twisted ego, while he now beat her for no longer being obedient, as Guan Xi tries comforting her. Afterwards, now back home, Shen finds Guan Xi drinking wine, which he mocks, claiming that her plan failed, but she tells him to pour one for himself, saying that she has good news for him, that Xiaojing is pregnant, showing him the echography results. She's utterly shocked, but there's also an abortion paper there. But as he tries rushing out, she makes him see the date, which is today, making him remember when he shoved her against the ground. Furious, he tries blaming Guan Xi for provoking this, but she tells him that Xiaojing just wanted to be with him, and instead blames this on his love for her being fake, because otherwise she wouldn't have sided with her, which makes Shen try to hit her, but he stops himself, defeated and in disbelief, as he then goes to the bar to drown himself in alcohol next to Palin. Shen's drank a lot with Palin, though they're now drunkenly talking about how Guan Xi threats him like a beggar for gifting him money instead of allowing him to sell his own shares. So Shen asks if he's thought about becoming the chairman, which he won't deny, but was happy being in the background, in the past, because after refusing to let him sell his shares, he now wants to take control of the company, which Shen promises he'll do if he helps him. So, after they've met with two other members of the company's board of directors, Palin manages to buy some of Mr. Tang's shares, which he accepted as Peelin's Guan. And together, with all their shares combined, they now have over 50% of the company's shares, giving them decision-making power over it. And so, afterwards, Shen goes to the company to Guan Xi's office, claiming that she's no longer suitable in this position, citing the money owed to their business partners due to not producing anything, and the stock price going down, blaming it on her and how she can't solve it. But Guan Xi just leaves after taunting him that he won't do anything. But as she then went to a company meeting, she found no one but two members there to her confusion. as she's told that banks have rejected loan applications, but that there's a way to solve this, with a foreign hedge fund company that's willing to grant the loan, but with Guanxi shares as collateral. A risky move, but that might be the only choice. But later, Shen's then summoned the board of directors to convene because he's declaring Guanxi isn't suitable for the job, and so they'll be electing a new chairman. But as he was scoffed at, since no Guan was present, they were silenced and shocked when Palin entered. But he was followed by Guanxi, to Shen's utter shock, because Palin had called her yesterday, informing of Shen's plan. Because even though he asked her for money for pictures back then, it didn't really mean anything, because he doesn't really care about running the company, but he won't let anyone but the Guans control it, which Guanxi reveals in the present, and Shen's left furious, who leaves pissed at Palin, as he later ends up at a bar, drinking straight from a whiskey bottle, and later ends up drunk walking in the middle of the road. And after throwing up like a sick dog, he tries lighting up a cigarette, only to find no lighter. But that's when someone lights it up for him, Su Jing, who he promptly hugs as he claims this is all Guanxi's fault and he'll get revenge on her. But Su Jing shoves him away, remembering the times he said he loved her, and she can now just laugh, saying that revenge or not, nothing can come back. But that he's the only thing she has now, as she kisses him. Guanxi ponders on giving out her shares as collateral for money, pondering on how she was checkmated after all. And while Shen rests in Su Jing's place, he receives a call, informing him that Guanxi has decided to use her shares as collateral in the end. And without her shares in the way, it means that even without Palin's shares, he now holds decision-making power again. And so, Guanxi's later packing up, because Shen summoned another meeting, and after it, she stopped being chairman, with Shen now occupying that position at last. But Guanxi tells her worried workmates that this was done for the good of the company, as she's then at home, angrily tearing apart a photo of their wedding, while Shen mocks her, asking if she got hurt, which she claims she did. And after he taunts her, saying that life's always been easy on her since she was born, she leaves her home with only a suitcase and nothing else. At night, Shen's celebrating his victory when Palin angrily finds and threatens him, calling him an ungrateful dog. But Shen just says he became chairman merely due to procedures and claims that the Guans can't rival him as Palin's dragged away and they continue partying. Afterwards, Shen takes Su Jing to his home, saying that everything that belonged to Guanxi, including the company, belongs to them now. As Su Jing reveals that Guanxi called her, saying Shen had won this game and she was leaving the country tomorrow. Though Su Jing wonders why she didn't take anything else, Shen claims it's because she can't stand being beaten, and everything here is a reminder of how she failed. While he tells Su Jing that they will have many children in the future, and she just hugs him. And the next day, Ding's saying goodbye to Guanxi, and as she sees her leave, she sees that Su Jing also came, but late. But she says nothing to her as she leaves, as Guanxi just stares outside her window. An event is being held, where Shen will officially take office as the Guan Group Company's chairman, where Su Jing stands by his side as his partner amidst hesitant claps. But as he gives out his speech, some people are making their way to the event, with one of them claiming that Shen's no longer the man he knew. And as Shen's about to announce the renaming of the Guan Group Company, he sees those people arrive, Guanxi, Palin, and Mr. Tang, to Shen's complete and utter shock and disbelief, as Mr. Tang's come to make an announcement that he himself saw Shen grow, smart and capable, company, and reveals that he tried to kill her himself several times, and now that she's sold her shares, he took opportunity to seize control, and thus he claims to everyone that he must not remain in control. And with his shares and Palin's and Guanxi's, their shares exceed over half total. And with this fact, he's declaring that Guanxi will continue to serve as chairman of Guan Group Company, as Shen leaves utterly defeated. And as he later ends up yelling out of frustration at a cliff, Guanxi approaches him, revealing that she left almost everything at home because she was going to come back. But that's when Shen pathetically tries claiming that this was all Su Jing's idea and begs to Guanxi on his knees to return with him. But she's not having it, as Su Jing herself arrives, seeing this pathetic display from him because she was still in coalition with Guanxi, and Ding also arrives, claiming that he's a self-centered, immoral narcissist. But he still begs to Guanxi regardless, but then claims that since she didn't die, then they'll die together, as she tries pulling her with him off the cliff. But this time, Su Jing and Ding are here to save her as they pull her away from him, and he ends falling off the cliff alone into the ocean. Sometime later, Su Jing's now with Guanxi, claiming that she's at fault, being too selfish and desperate for his love. And though Guanxi knows she's also a victim, she can't forgive her. expect to, claiming that her probably never having children again is the price she must pay for what she did. While we see that, Yang Ji ended up going to the police station and confessed absolutely everything. He got 13 years of prison, while Shen, who survived the fall, was sentenced to 15 years. Xiu Jing was sentenced to 4 years and a half, and Pilin to 1 year and a half. And 2 years later, Guan Xi walks on the beach, thinking on how Pilin, after having left prison, now successfully runs the company's live commerce service. While Ding's gotten her own personal studio, and Yang Ji might leave prison earlier due to being an exemplary inmate. While Guan Xi claims that Shen's enjoying a peaceful life now, as she approaches someone in a wheelchair and sees a happy family of a couple and their own child, thinking on how marriage changes how people treat each other and can create tension and discomfort. But as he imagines that family as hers with Shen, she says to believe that as long as a couple faces the world together, marriage will always be rosy.